All right, yes, indeed. Thank you so much. In the first hour here on the show, we spoke to the Deputy Chair of the Interim Board of the SABC, Matata Sedu, of course, about their call for our audiences to partake in contributing towards the new editorial policy. Let's just take this discussion further with ICASA, the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, and we're joined by Paseka Maleka, who is the spokesperson of ICASA. He joins us from our studios in Pretoria. Good morning to you, Dr. Maleka, and thank you so much for joining us here on Morning Live.
Good morning to you and the listeners.
Now, we do know that ICASA declared the SABC policy invalid. I think it was around this time last year. But how has the SABC complied since then?
Well, we continue to do the monitoring for the SABC, and then we normally do this once a year. So the compliance at the moment, we don't have the report, but in terms of last year, yes, we do have the report, and the SABC has showed some compliance of course, in terms of the license terms and conditions and the regulations.
Yeah, and yesterday the interim board announced, of course, the new process to review its policies. What is ICASA's take on the new process?
Well, it is important for the SABC to consult in terms of the editorial policy, because you will remember in sometime last year in October, we received a complaint from the SOS Coalition as well as the Media Monitoring Africa. It came through the Complaints and Compliance Committee at ICASA to say the SABC did not comply with Section 6.6 of the Broadcasting Act in terms of public consultation when developing a policy or amending the policy. And the matter was, there was some exchange of documents between the SABC and the complainants. And then the matter went to the Complaints and Compliance Committee, had a public hearing where all the parties were given an opportunity to present their case before the committee. A decision was therefore taken, or a recommendation was therefore taken by the CCC to the ICASA Council to say the SABC did not comply with Section 6.6 of the Broadcasting Act. Then the council took a decision in March this year to say that amendment of the editorial policy was invalid, and then ordered the SABC to look into the issue of the Section 6 of the Broadcasting Act, and therefore that's why the matter was declared invalid. The council took that decision. It is therefore important for the SABC to follow the law in terms of the Broadcasting Act in consultation with all the public, everybody who is interested in making a submission to the editorial policy, for them to be able to go, for the SABC to be able to comply with the Broadcasting Act. But then how will
ICASA ensure that we do not see any more of those wrong amendments to the editorial policies? What will your take be, or your part be in this whole new process of reviewing the policies?
Well, obviously, ICASA will follow the process. We'll always monitor the processes and see how far it goes. But whatever decision that is taken afterwards, after all this public consultation, we'll also do our own monitoring and see if everything was done. And obviously, we are going to look at it as well. Surely, we are going to be given an opportunity to look at the amendments and possibly do our own submissions thereof. But all in all, as long as the SABC complies with the law, because that's what ICASA is there for, to ensure that there is compliance with the law, there is compliance with the license terms and conditions, and then if that is done, then from our side, there's no problem with anything like that.
And of course, we've seen the broadcaster calling on the public to participate in this new process. But what does ICASA say in terms of how much public input is considered in terms of what the broadcaster puts on air on radio stations and television?
Well, of course, I mean, the SABC, as long as they go to all the different provinces and allow all the stakeholders, all the interested stakeholders to participate in this process, that is the most important thing. Because this is the law that affects people out there. And obviously, this is done in terms of the public interest mandate. So as long as people can make their comments and all the submissions are considered and the right decision is taken, then we believe that it would be in terms of the law. And it's important for us as well as ICASA to ensure that process takes place. Because if it doesn't take place, then it's a non-compliance, and then it can end up being taken to the Complaints and Compliance Committee again, another adjudication, another investigation, but that's not what we want to do. But at the same time, from ICASA's point of view, we also would like to encourage all the civil society organizations and all the interested stakeholders to take part in this process, because this is done in the public interest.
All right, let's just shift a little bit from the SABC and talk about one of the issues that came out of Minister Gigaba's 14-point economic recovery plan yesterday. He made mention of the telecoms industry having to look into the issue of reducing the price of data. What will ICASA's involvement be in that matter?
Well, ICASA started the process of an inquiry into the different markets. You know, we're looking at to identify different markets within the electronic communication sector. Well, we believe that the broadband market is also important in that regard. And then it will definitely come out when you look at the way issues have been coming out recently. And then when you look at that process is holistic, because it's looking not only at data, but holistic, the cost of communications in general. And then it is important also for stakeholders to take part in that process as well, but for now, the first phase of this process is to do a market study. And that market study is tailor-made mainly for the network operators, because it's asking specific questions. Right. I mean, questions like the cost structure and all the other issues relating to transmission services, etc. So for us, it's important for stakeholders to also take part when we publish the discussion document, which is going to be the second phase of this process. But however, there are other processes that we are taking as ICASA that are running parallel to this particular process. We have an engagement with the National Consumer Commission to look into some of the issues relating to unused minutes, unused data, and the expiry of data as well. Right. So that is another process. Okay. But in terms of the inquiry itself, what we're looking at making sure that by the end of March 2018, we are able to come up with the findings document. Therefore, we'll therefore then be able to start the market review process where we develop a regulation.
All right. No, I believe that's a topic for another day, but thank you so much for talking to us. Paseka Malika is the spokesperson of ICASA. Thank you so much indeed, talking to us, of course, about the new policy review of the SABC editorial policies. We had a conversation with the Deputy Interim Chairperson of the SABC board, Matata Sedu, and we're also talking to ICASA just to hear their point of view on the broadcasters' policy reviews rather. All right, let us get you another weather update and see its extent.